Once there was a king who had a beautiful garden, and in the middle of it stood a tree that grew golden apples. The apples were carefully counted, but just as they started to ripen, one would disappear every night. Furious, the king told his gardener to keep watch under the tree through the night. The gardener sent his eldest son to keep guard, but around midnight, he dozed off. In the morning, sure enough, another apple was gone. Then the second son took over the next night, but he too fell asleep, and another apple vanished. Finally, the youngest son offered to stand watch. The gardener didn't want to risk it. He was worried his youngest might get hurt. But in the end, he gave in. That night, the boy lay down under the tree, determined to stay awake. At the stroke of midnight, he heard a rustling in the air. A bird, shimmering entirely in gold, flew down and started pecking at one of the apples. The boy leapt up and fired an arrow, but it didn't hurt the bird. It only knocked a golden feather from its tail. The bird flew off into the dark. The next morning, the golden feather was brought to the king. He gathered his advisors, and everyone agreed it was more valuable than anything in the kingdom. But the king said, "A single feather is no use to me. I want the whole bird." The gardener's eldest son set off first to find the golden bird. He hadn't gone far before he came across a fox sitting by the woods. He raised his bow to shoot, but the fox said, "Wait, don't shoot me. I know why you're here. You're looking for the golden bird. If you listen to me, I can help you. Soon you'll reach a village with 2 inns. One will look very fancy and inviting, and the other will look poor and shabby. Stay in the shabby one." The young man thought, "What does a fox know?" and ignored the advice. He shot at the fox, but missed, and it ran off into the forest. That evening, he reached the village and saw the 2 inns. One was bustling with music and laughter, while the other looked run down. "Only a fool would sleep in that dump," he said, and went into the lively inn. He ate, drank, and forgot all about the bird and his mission. Time passed. When the eldest didn't return, the second son set off. He also met the fox and got the same warning. But when he saw his brother at the window of the fancy inn, waving him in, he gave in. He joined the party and forgot the bird and his home. Eventually, the youngest son wanted to go. His father refused at first. He couldn't bear the thought of losing him too. But the boy wouldn't back down. So he finally set out, and just like his brothers, he met the fox. But this time, the boy listened. He thanked the fox and didn't try to harm him. The fox said, "Hop on my tail and we'll get there faster." The boy sat on the fox's tail, and they zoomed off through the forest. When they reached the village, he followed the advice and stayed in the rough-looking inn. When they reached the village, he followed the advice and stayed in the rough-looking inn. The next morning, the fox returned and said, "Keep heading straight until you reach a castle. Out front, you'll see a group of soldiers, all fast asleep. Go inside, and you'll find the golden bird in a wooden cage. Nearby, you'll see a fancy golden cage. Whatever you do, don't try to move the bird into that one, or you'll regret it." Then the fox stretched out his tail again, and off they went. Everything was just as the fox described. The boy slipped past the sleeping soldiers, found the wooden cage with the golden bird, and saw the beautiful golden cage next to it. It's silly to take such a beautiful bird in this old thing, he thought, and moved the bird. As soon as he did, the bird let out a screech that woke everyone. The guards grabbed him and dragged him to the king. The next morning, the court sentenced him to death, unless he could bring them the golden horse that ran faster than the wind. Then he could have the bird. Upset but not giving up, the boy set out again. Soon the fox found him and said, "See what happened when you didn't listen? Still, I'll help. Go to the castle where the horse is kept. The stable boy will be asleep. Take the horse, but don't swap the old leather saddle for the shiny golden one." Once again, the boy rode on the fox's tail until they reached the place. Everything was as described. But when he saw the leather saddle, he thought, "This horse deserves better." As he picked up the golden saddle, the groom woke and shouted. The guards rushed in, and the boy was arrested. In the morning, the court said he'd only be spared if he brought them the princess from the golden palace. Then he could have the bird and the horse. Feeling hopeless, he wandered on until the fox found him again. "Didn't I warn you? But one last time, I'll help. Head to the palace. At midnight, the princess goes to bathe. Meet her and kiss her. Then she'll come with you. But don't let her go say goodbye to her parents." They rushed off again, the wind whistling past. At midnight, the boy found the princess and gave her a kiss. She agreed to go with him, but pleaded to say goodbye to her father. At first, he refused, but eventually gave in. The moment she stepped inside the palace, the guards woke up and he was caught. The king told him he'd only get the princess if he could clear away the giant hill blocking the view from his window within 8 days. The boy worked for 7 days and barely made progress. Then the fox came and said, "Lie down and rest. I'll take care of it." When the boy woke up, the hill was gone. He went to the king, who had no choice but to give him the princess. The fox said, "Now let's get all three. The princess, the horse, and the bird." "How?" the boy asked. "When you bring the princess to the king, he'll be thrilled. Get on the golden horse and say goodbye to everyone. But save the princess for last. As you shake her hand, pull her up behind you and ride off fast." It worked. Then the fox said, "Now go to the castle with the bird. I'll wait at the door with the princess. Go inside, and when the king shows you the bird, ask to hold it. The moment it's in your hands, right away." That plan worked too. They now had the bird, the horse, and the princess. In the woods, the fox said, "Please, cut off my head and paws." "No, never," said the boy. "Then at least listen to this last bit of advice. Don't save anyone from the gallows, and don't sit near any river." Easy enough, thought the boy. He traveled on with the princess, and eventually came to the village where he'd left his brothers. There was a commotion. 2 men were about to be hanged. He moved closer and realized they were his brothers, who had turned to crime. Despite the fox's warning, the youngest son couldn't ignore it. "They're my brothers," He said, I can't let them die. So he paid the fine and set them free. The three of them traveled on together, but the brothers were jealous. The younger brother had everything now: the golden bird, the golden horse, and even a princess who clearly loved him. They plotted against him. One day, as he slept by a river to rest, they pushed him in. They grabbed the bird, the horse, and the princess and returned to the king. We've done it, they said. We're the heroes. The king was happy and threw a big celebration. But the princess didn't say a word. She knew the truth. Meanwhile, the fox had been keeping watch. When the brothers betrayed the boy, the fox came and rescued him from the river. Didn't I warn you? The fox said. But I'll help one last time. The boy returned to the castle. When he arrived, the horse neighed loudly, the golden bird chirped and flapped its wings, and the princess ran straight into his arms. The truth came out. The brothers were arrested and thrown into prison. The youngest son married the princess and was named the next king. After the wedding, the fox came to him and said, You have everything now. Will you finally do as I ask? Cut off my head and paws. The boy hesitated. How could I hurt you? You've saved me again and again. But the fox insisted. So at last, the boy took a deep breath and did it. In an instant, the fox transformed into a man, a handsome prince. I was cursed, the prince explained. Only when someone willingly helped me 3 times, then ended my suffering, would I be free. You were the one. They embraced like brothers, and the prince went off to reclaim his own kingdom. As for the boy, he ruled wisely and well. And the golden bird sang in his garden every morning, reminding him of the strange and magical adventure that had changed his life forever.